What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Have some interesting stuff to talk about today. Apparently, next year, we're getting new Final Fantasy or some kind of new titles from Square, which is kind of cool. Also got release dates on Hat in Time for PS4 and Xbox One. Guess what? It's soon. And then we also heard about a physical copy of Overcooked coming out sometime next year. So let's get started. Now, we're going to start with Overcooked, at least the physical copy that they're talking about. According to them, their target date is February 13th. And this is going to come out in the UK, Europe, and North America. And that's a target date, as they said. It's not a locked-in date currently. It could change according to them. It's just what they're targeting. Now, this physical announcement it was kind of cool. People got excited for it, right? Then there's some people who got annoyed, and I can understand this, because this seems to be a trend, right? Where they sell digital copies, or at least these games that don't have physical releases, and then later on, after you more than likely have bought it, they then released a really cool special edition version of that same game that you already have. And some people don't mind because they're collectors and they're going to buy this, what probably will be more expensive but have cool stuff in it. And then there are other people who are like, I don't want to buy it again. I would have just bought the physical copy if it came out when the digital copy was announced. So I can understand. We know Rocket League apparently is getting a physical release, but most of us wanted to have it and play it on the Switch when it came out. So it's this weird sense of them technically selling you the game twice, I guess. And then you have other people saying that they'll just wait for the physical copy. Well, here's the thing. The digital copy has to sell for them to think about making a physical copy. It's not like the physical copy just shows up later down the line if the digital copy doesn't sell. That's really not how it works. They have to have money to release the physical copy. So it's this very weird situation where maybe if you're a big fan of the series, you don't mind buying because you're collecting, but maybe you would have rather get the physical copy just to have it because you like having physical copies of games and you can't justify buying the game twice. It's a very interesting situation. I at least want to see what's going to come in this special edition because more than likely it's going to be very cool. They're going to have a lot of stuff in it. I mean, like Binding of Isaac, Axiom Verge. These are great examples of games that come out physically and they have a ton of stuff with them. So I'm hoping they do the same with Overcooked. It's coming February 13th. Again, a target date. Next up, A Hat in Time also got a release date. Now, you might be wondering, well, I thought the game was already out. It's out on the PC currently. That came out October 5th, and it's been met with overwhelmingly positive reviews. If you go on Steam and check out the review categories, it's currently sitting in a very high overwhelmingly positive, and that's because it's a good game. It's kind of what a lot of people wanted Yooka-Laylee to be. So if you like that kind of genre, like a platforming style 3D game, you would like it. It's a lot of fun. And now it's coming next week, actually. Yeah, it's next week. It'll be out December 6th, and it's on the PS4 and the Xbox One. You can go on the marketplace, download it. Should be the same price of $29.99 as it is on Steam. I saw people down the comments asking at times on Twitter, is there going to be a Switch version? According to them, no plans are in place to port it to the Switch, but I'm sure they're at least looking at it and figuring out how that would work. I think it would work fine on the Switch, to be honest, because even with integrated graphics for the really old processor and the unit that I have here, the computer I was doing with games without video cards like Cuphead, for example, it still ran on that at 20 to 25 frames, so I think something like the Switch would run it all right. But I would be curious to see if they would even go down that path. Maybe. I mean, the game is good enough to keep putting it on multiple systems, but at least we know now the PS4 and the Xbox One version coming next week. That's December 6th. Now, I just talked about Cuphead. I do want to move over to the big milestone they just passed. On Steam Spy, it now shows that it has crossed the 1 million unit mark on PC alone. So with Xbox One, I like to factor in maybe an extra 300,000 copies. This was definitely a PC game first and then an Xbox game because it sold so much better on PC. But I mean, this is great. 1 million units now sold just on PC. So if you factor in, this is only on Steam too. There's also, I think Good Old Games also sold it. So there could have been an extra, a couple thousand even units there. So more than likely, they're coming up on something like 1.5 million overall with the Xbox One, Good Old Games, and Steam. This is a big accomplishment for a game that was seen as an indie title first and then really took over. Now it's winning a bunch of Xbox Game of the Year awards. And I think it deserves it. I mean, Studio MDHR did a lot of work to it. It took them quite a while to put this together. I think it was like 4 years or something. So it really is a great game. If you have not purchased it, it is completely worth the $20. You might as well jump on and get it and have some fun. It's Cuphead, now over 1 million units on Steam Spy. Next up, let's talk about the UK sales charts. And these do include LA Noire. I know there's a lot of people curious about how that game was going to do. We're going to look at that as well. And then we're going to see where Battlefront 2 is currently. Because remember, it was number 2 last time we saw it that was beaten out by Call of Duty. Duty. So we'll see if it had any drop off into this next week. So here's the top 10 games right here. You're gonna see Call of Duty still at number 1. FIFA 18 actually jumped from number 3 to number 2. Gran Turismo Sport that went on sale heavily. I think people were talking about it being down to like $30 or $40 even. And then of course it was bundled in to that PlayStation VR bundle that was there for Black Friday. Up to number 3 from the 12th spot. And then there's Star Wars Battlefront 2 dropping from the 2nd spot down to the 4th spot. Assassin's Creed Origins below that. Forza Motorsport 7 actually jumped up again from the 15th spot to number 6. It's pretty good. Then below that, Wolfenstein 2, thank you. Again, probably Black Friday sales helped this. Massive jump for a game that I really want to do well. That's from the 18th spot up to the 7th spot. Mario Odyssey goes up 1. Fallout 4 had a massive jump. I think a lot of this has to do with the really the Black Friday sales that really helped out. And then Need for Speed Payback went up 1 spot to number 10. Really quick, right below that, that's not showing, number 11 was PlayStation VR Worlds, and that has a lot to do with the PlayStation VR headset and bundles selling really well on Black Friday. In fact, Sony came out and said that this is comparable to the first week that the VR headset was on the market, which is very impressive, and that's a good sign for VR. I know a lot of people don't like it as much. It hasn't really attached to the mainstream, but the fact that it's still moving a decent amount of units, it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be a massive trending thing. It's going to take some time. The technology is still working on it, and early adopters are mostly holding that up. But it's good to hear that it's at least gaining some traction. As for LA Noire on the Switch, it was number 36 overall, so the number 36 on the charts, and then number 6 on Switch specific charts. So LA Noire was number 6 on Switch charts, number 36 overall for the Switch in terms of the overall charting. And then below that, they also came up with the splits. So overall, the Switch was 20% of the overall LA Noire. That's for the if you take the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Switch, add them all up, and then figure out which chunk each system came up with. 20% for the Switch, 26% for the Xbox One, and then 51% for the PS4. Now, of course, this, I believe, does not count all digital sales either, so it could be kind of all over the place there, but it looks like the Switch, and they're probably margin of error, that's why it's probably missing some percent there, but overall, the Switch, that's not bad considering the install base is much lower than the Xbox One and the PS4 in that area. I mean, it was only 6% behind the Xbox One. Now, you can also say the Xbox One and the PS4 have, well, quite a few third-party games, big third-party games to pick from right now, especially with Black Friday having just happened. There was a lot to pick from, so while I can't say all the PS4 and Xbox One users were as excited for LA Noire as the Switch users, it's still very interesting to see that a third-party game like that, one from Rockstar, by the way, held up very well on the Switch. I think that's got to be really exciting for Rockstar to see that, because I have to assume, looking at this, the attach rate was the best on the Switch only because of the smaller amount of units that are there compared to the Xbox One and the PS4. So while it didn't take home more than the Xbox One and the PS4, I think that's expected overall, just because there's so many more Xbox One and PS4s, but definitely a good sign here for the Switch when it comes to Rockstar. Next up, let's talk about Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. It was the new Animal Crossing mobile game that came out, one that I think makes a ton of sense on a mobile platform, mostly because not only does it follow really the monetization aspect that mobile gamers have pretty much embraced, which is a free-to-play style where you get the game for free and then you buy in if you want to. It's a very high-polished looking game, and I think it's going to appeal to the vast majority of audience for mobile compared to something like Fire Emblem, where they don't really know it as well. It's not as it's not as cutesy as Animal Crossing, right? Animal Crossing is geared much more towards all audiences, whereas Fire Emblem is more of a niche, really a niche style game. But then here comes Animal Crossing, and we had some data finally come out for it. You can see here, 15 million downloads. That's in comparison to 32 million downloads for Mario, and then 7 million for Fire Emblem. Now, here's the thing. Mario had its own issues. It was technically a free download, and trust me, they used those downloads heavily to skew really the results that they had to report. Animal Crossing is just a straight up free to download game, right? Like, you download and then you buy things if you want. It's going to be Nintendo's best revenue generator out of all of these games. It absolutely will. I don't think there's any question, because keep in mind, they had a massive issue. If you remember, with conversion rates for Mario, people would download Mario and then they wouldn't pay. They wouldn't buy, and they'd play like the first 3 level trial, and then that was it. I think it was super low, like 10% or something. It wasn't much. Animal Crossing, as soon as you start playing, they got you. Because if you get addicted to that game, there probably will come a time where you buy in with microtransactions. Now, from what I've heard from people online, and I have played it some myself, but not a ton, they're not as intrusive as other mobile games. And that's a good thing. I mean, it is a very polished looking game. People are having a lot of fun online. And I think the downloads will continue because they are doing a holiday event. It seems like they're going to update this a lot, and they're really going to buy in, I think, with the mobile aspect of monetization with Animal Crossing and probably games going forward, because Fire Emblem was making a ton of money, and I'm telling you now, Animal Crossing is going to make truckloads of money here, and it's something that they can keep making money from pretty much forever going forward. So very interesting to see. Good to see Animal Crossing doing well, though, on mobile platforms, because I had a feeling that would be the game to get on mobile, and hey, they did it. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Final Fantasy a little bit. Now, on December 18th, it's going to turn 30. The entire franchise is going to enjoy its 30th anniversary and turn 30 on that day. And that apparently has Square at least doing a lot of work for this series. They have a new logo that looks really cool, and in a recent interview, they're apparently pretty much going all out next year with titles all over the place. And this was in a recent interview with Shinji Hashimoto. He had an interview here with Edamame Arcade Channel on YouTube saying, "Next year will be the 31st year and our teams are busy working on new titles. They're all gearing up for a big next year. Next year is going to be a big year. Next year will be a big one, and we will bring exciting new Final Fantasy titles to the world." So now I'm wondering what they're talking about here. Are they going to do mostly remasters? Could it be, like, I've talked to people on Twitter, I would love to see them take something like Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6, whatever you want to call it, depending on which version you owned or how you just refer to it. Final Fantasy 6, they took that and they turned it into a whole new looking game, right? I don't want to say go as far as something like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, because we're still waiting for that game to show up. I mean, let's be real, that's taken forever at this point. But maybe if they did something in the vein of, like how we see Project Octopath, something like that, that would be kind of cool to get it completely remade, redone, maybe change up the gameplay slightly to be more in line with some newer aspects to the game. Really the gaming world at this point, make it a little more modernized. And I think that'd be really cool to see. I think a lot of people would buy into that. And then my other question is, are they coming out with just brand new games? Is there going to be new Final Fantasies outside of like remastering or remaking old ones? That's where things get interesting, because they specifically say Final Fantasy titles. It's pretty obvious they're really excited about Final Fantasy turning 30, and I guess just the 31st year, they're going to be probably pasting that logo all over the place on their games. You know, big Final Fantasy 30th anniversary, and hey, all these new games. So I look forward to it, but I can't really figure out what they're going to be doing here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, what they could be doing. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you like gaming news every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, consider subscribing to stay up to date with any of the news all around the gaming world. And definitely let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today, specifically Final Fantasy. I mean, what are they going to do next year? Are they going to remaster old games? Or are they going to come up with some new titles for different systems? Of course, they could put stuff on the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC. They have talked heavily about how they want to move mid-range titles to the Switch. Maybe that's what they're alluding to here with Final Fantasy titles. Kind of interesting. And also let me know what you think about L.A. Noire on the Switch. With Rockstar really probably looking at sales, seeing a decent sell-through rate in the UK, do you think there's enough for them to then start thinking about GTA 5 if it's not already in development? Because I have a feeling it is in development. And then also let me know if you're picking up Hat in Time on the PS4, maybe you got it on the PC, or maybe you were waiting for the PS4 release. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you next time.